A radicalized, weaponized minority that gets up every day with a zealous extremist ideology will carve through the majority like butter. But they got us divide and conquering. They got it. Look, I'll give you an example of where we got to wake up. This Kanye thing, I got to talk about real quick from one example.
Oh, God.
They have us divide and conquering over the Kanye thing. What people don't realize is, like, you know, the problems that our communities have with certain Jewish communities, right? And you see the Republicans who don't give a shit about Jews. They're more anti-Semitic than anybody, using people of color like Herschel Walker and Kanye and others, right, as their tokens to divide and conquer within our communities through anti-Semitism, homophobia, feminism. And our communities, they take the bait sometimes. They're like, oh, look, a gay. Oh, a transgender. Oh, yes, the Jewish power. And meanwhile, our communities don't realize that the white supremacist leader, if you will, the puppet master who's using these people of color, is going to come after all of us. Yep. Our communities got to unite, right? That's why we got to be like, call out Kanye's anti-Semitism, call a spade, that's a total lie, that's hateful, coming after all our communities. You got to unite whatever differences we have right now, especially for 2022 and 2024. Talk about those differences, but we have to unite for democracy. And because mainstream media won't call fascism what it is, we have to use the right words. We have to use the right language. We have to call it out. And people of color, folks, like always, are going to be the prophets and the Paul Reveres. We're going to get shot. We're going to get killed. We're going to get being called hysterical. But history will prove us right eventually.
I mean, and I don't know who will be around to teach that history. I don't know if those history books are still going to be coming out of Texas in the way that they refer to slavery as, you know, an unpaid labor or indentured servitude. I want to touch on a couple of things that you said, and particularly picking up on Kanye, which you cannot turn to any type of news, whether it be entertainment, fashion, politics, or finance, and not be brought into this whirlwind that has happened, that Kanye has done, because one, he's an egotistical narcissist, and two, because he's dangerous, right? And the reality here to me is the way in which the reason why marginalized communities are at each other's throats is because of white supremacy.
That's right.
Is because we hold up certain shades and certain countries. Mm-hmm. And by we, I mean white supremacists, and those countries, usually westernized countries, hold up certain groups as better than others.
That's right.
And then those groups get to have the attributions and the benefits of being in proximity to whiteness. And then by virtue, you create this colorized hierarchy. And, you know, where Kanye West is and has always been, has been a puppet of white supremacy. Kanye West, from when he wanted to get his deals with these corporations, only wanted white people in power to like him, wanted them to accept him, wanted them to open the doors for him, right? And when he was told by now that famed conversation with host Sway on Sirius XM, who said, why don't you just start your own thing? Why are you looking for handouts from these white folks? Like, why can't you have a big enough brand and a big enough following? And he goes, you don't know the answers, Sway. You don't know the answers. Well, guess what? Sway had the answers, right? To create a for us, by us model. But the reason why Kanye is so in bed now with Trump and Candace Owens and those folks is because they are giving him the attention.
That's right.
Right? That the rest of us have decided, like, yeah, your music is good, but like your rep is like this. Yeah, your character is like this, and you're actually a clown. And where Black people are right now is, I've heard many folks say, and I'm not a representative and I'm not saying all, but the way that you put crabs in a barrel is to say, well, why are these corporations dropping Kanye now that he's made anti-Semitic remarks? But when he said that slavery was a choice, nobody was calling for boycotts of him then, right? When he was talking about anti-Blackness, nobody was calling for things then. And so I think that the reality here, and what we have to understand, is that white supremacy is absolutely the tool that is used over and over again in order to own certain groups, in order to pin them against each other so that this now shrunken minority can continue to hold power, right? Because we're busy at each other's throats, working from a place of scarcity, clamoring over the crumbs that they leave behind. And they've had us believe that, oh, we're both the wealthiest nation in the world, but clearly the poorest, because we can't possibly accommodate all people, right? But what they're saying is that we don't want to accommodate people that look like you and me, right?
It's about accountability. And what you said, you explained it really well. And the name is model minority. It's the people of color who have chased whiteness and have run away from blackness, and specifically Asians and Latinos and South Asians who should have known better. Excuse me. My parents' generation that came here post 1965, they came here and like, who's winning? Who's on top? Who's living in the good homes? Who does everyone love? The whites. Who does this country hate? The blacks, the poor Latinos. What am I going to chase? Whiteness or blackness? And they chased whiteness. And the anti-blackness strain is being used right now to divide us. And anti-Semitism is also being used to divide us. And a point that has to be made, and black folks aren't wrong about this. You know, people of color say this, the double standards. Oh, when it comes to racism, pass. When it comes to misogyny, pass. But with Kanye in particular, what I see is interesting is everyone's talking about Kanye's anti-Semitism, right? Well, wait until I tell you that the former president of the United States of America, President Trump, the head of the RNC, said just as hateful stuff and no one cared. And how Marjorie Taylor Greene literally went to a white supremacist conference and doubled down just a few months ago and everyone's forgotten. And Doug Mastriano, who's a Christian nationalist running for Pennsylvania governor, literally is on the podcast with Andrew Gorba, who's this friggin' far-right anti-Semitic hater on Gab, and no one said a word. And the fact that Elise Stefanik, the number 3 Republican, promoted the white supremacist anti-Semitic replacement theory that has radicalized terrorists that have committed crimes against Jews, black folks in Buffalo, Latinos in El Paso, and Muslims in Christchurch. And everyone gives these Republican white conservatives a pass because they're white and they're conservative and they're Republican. But we focus on Kanye, which we should. But again, I'm saying is, for 3 days I've heard about Kanye. Have you all forgotten about Trump's anti-Semitic post? And so it's one of those situations where I don't think, it's not one of those things you don't condemn Kanye. You condemn Kanye. But I just want people of color out there to realize this is part and parcel of the divide and conquer strategy of white supremacy. And we have to see through it. You call it out. You say anti-Semitism is wrong. Homophobia is wrong. Anti-woman hate is wrong. Islamophobia is wrong. Anti-immigrant, anti-POC hate is wrong. You cannot divide us. Yes, we have differences, but we know who Thanos is. We know our common enemy. It's white supremacy, and we're coming after you.
150%. Thank you for listening to Democracyish. I am Danielle Moodie.
And I am Wajahat Ali, and unlike Thor, I will not aim for the chest, I'll aim for the neck.
We will be back next week, friends, if in fact white supremacy hasn't consumed the entire nation and us with it.